Think about is when we were young, how, bro, won't nobody playing by the rules though.
Yeah.
Like ain't no. Yeah. Let me get a mic check. Go. What you got?
Yep. Can you give me?
I got you. Fred, let me get a mic check real quick.
Mic check.
Yes, sir. Ain't nobody talking. Like ain't nobody doing no fucking sitcoms and shit about how them folks is locking up grandmas.
No.
And then saying, hey, we couldn't get your ass, but that house you put in Nana name.
Yeah.
Like if she gonna ride for that since she don't got no forms to say where she got the money from.
She going down
unless you sign on, right?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody telling that side, right?
No, ain't nobody telling it.
Nobody telling
everybody will say they don't know, and they didn't get that far in to see that it was a system built.
Shit was dirty.
It was a system built to break us down.
Dirty.
I've probably only gone fishing twice in my lifetime. However, I know a lot of people who fish.
Over the years, I've interviewed hundreds of successful black men.
Many times I've walked away from a particular conversation and thought, it's a shame that more people don't know about you. If we don't tell our stories, then they'll never be told.
Much like the fisherman I spoke about earlier, we want to tell everybody about the successes of black men. The fishermen never tell how hard it is to get to that great fishing spot. And usually there are hills, uncut weeds, rocks, snakes, fallen trees, dark places, and other hazards.
Calls me N-word, calls me all these things.
Many young men, boys even, find difficulty in obtaining success because oftentimes those they consider successful haven't been given the opportunity to detail their winding paths to success.
I got so much more in me that I can offer.
Goin Fishing is designed to allow successful black men to tell their success stories. We know in just telling the stories, we inspire others. So grab your pole. We going fishing.
And I can't, bro. And so like even now what kills me is when I look at all the entertainment shit, I'm like, bro, they making money. They made money off of our young dumbasses then, right?
Yeah.
Damn, it's 30 years later, they making money now just talking about the dumb shit, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, that's crazy as hell.
I don't watch, I don't get involved with that stuff.
Bro, I can't do it,
can't
bro.
do it.
That shit be mad, because I like, and and they glorify the stupid shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, man, that shit right there. Yeah, but to that point, so like with this right here, what I'm trying to do, what we doing every week, we doing 1 or 2 different people from different walks of life and the whole nine. But the way we putting it out is that, we interviewing successful people, and the path to success, that shit go like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we put it out like that, and all the finished products, they're gonna be highlighted like that. So I always tell everybody before we really start, is like, look, ain't no gotcha moments. Everything is about highlighting you, highlighting your path to success. We're gonna get started this week with
Another good one.
you already know, man. Hey man, we got these legends coming through, bro. I'm so excited, bro, for real. So look, I told you already, we do like we ain't just sitting down. First of all, we ain't just sitting down with anybody. I ain't gonna front. Like, let's get us rocking, because I mean, you know the rules, but I work hard on these intros.
Yeah. You have lately, man.
Come on, man. Come on. Hey, I'm watching the product, and I'm like, I could have did that better. I could have did that better. Plus, man, we sitting down with some greats, and a lot of times, we don't get a chance to hear how great we are. Hear somebody else tell us how great we are, right? I mean, when I say us, I mean, black men, not just black folk. You don't know how many times we sit there, you don't know how many times we sit down with people and black men, and they can't even tell you what do they do to be happy. What do you do for happy? You know what I'm saying? Everything, because we hardwired to just take care of responsibility, so to speak. Anyway, I got an intro this week. I got us an intro. All right, check this out. I took a class on gardening during the pandemic.
You told me.
Come on now. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Things different. Well, in one of the sessions, they were explaining about the proper way to plant seeds. And give me a little time to get all this out because I'm so excited to have today's guest with us. But see, planting the right seeds, this is what the experts said, don't actually guarantee any of us success in gardening. It's a whole process. And well, the expert says that the ingredients in the soil are just as, if not even more important than the seed itself.
That's right.
So they walked us through this planting process, right? And at one point, almost as a joke, they demonstrated how, check this, impossible it is to grow anything with success if you plant it in a brick. I kind of believed them until I was doing my research for this interview today. So I guess today is the definition of success. And unbeknownst to some today, the soil that gave birth to his process of success were actually the bricks. Projects, if you will, other bricks we'll talk about later. But in our culture, it ain't a negative to be grown from bricks. See, the soil is different. The love and the communities that the world only sees as the project is palpable. Man, let's be clear. Some of your favorite stars and entertainers come from humble beginnings. Some of y'all spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to go see them perform. And one of my goals in this interview is to encourage y'all to search out these local businesses founded on our own local legends, also born of humble beginnings, and spend dollars with them. But let me get back to my introduction because I really work on these introductions. I'm gonna give him a chance to introduce himself to y'all. But before we jump into the interview, let me get mine first. MacDougal Terrace. MacDougal Terrace's own MacDougal Terrace's finest. Founder and living example of Hustlers Rehab. Husband, brother, father, entrepreneur. We're joined by a real life success story. I stumbled my words, let me start that over. We're joined by a real life success story and Bull City legend, Fred Hayes.
OG.
So I want to give you a little time to, however you want to introduce yourself, you feel free, just tell the folks who you are.
I am Fred Hayes, and if I'm not considered, if others consider me one of Durham's finest,
yes, sir,
then
OG legend.
That's what I want to be. That's what I'm working towards in a lot of ways, a lot of different ways. Because to me that means that I have done more than the average to big up myself and other people.
Yeah.
Take care of myself and so that's a big word down finest. I hear it.
Yeah. You lived it, bro.
I lived it. Yeah. I lived it.
Yeah. So we're gonna hop right into this. So one of the things I'm gonna always hark on is the changes, the transition of life itself, and Durham as a city has changed.
Yeah.
Many who are even watching this, we talk about certain parts of Durham, their context is going to be different. So I want to start out there. Durham's changed so much over your lifetime, especially. I want to start the conversation with just that. Help us understand what is MacDougal Terrace, what does Durham itself, what does it look like from the perspective of when you were a little boy? How did little Fred see his hometown? Like, what was that like?
Durham, MacDougal Terrace was, to me as a kid, a little tight-knit community.
Yeah.
And the older you get, and when you start seeing things that are really happening and affect this world, you realize how tight-knit that was, because I guess in those poverty situations, you didn't feel it, or you wasn't supposed to feel it because you was a child.
Right.
And so, like I tell my kids now, like all the time, wait till you get my age, or wait till you start, because now I can respect what my mom and what, my family members did to get us to that point. But Durham was, it was just McDougal-Tur's, Feather Street. It was a tight-knit community. I don't remember going outside of that.
Yeah.
When we did, if I open my eyes to Durham now, it's like, wow, like what, like really, what is this?
Yeah,
like it's a different place now.
Yeah, because you could, we've had so many people sit in that chair and say the exact same thing as far as growing up in either Walltown or growing up in, Fairview Street projects at the time or whatever. Even if you go and they talk about how, bro, it wasn't even a need as a kid to go outside of your own community. Like, you had all the fun you wanted, had all the love you wanted. Yeah, so to hear you say that, it definitely rings bell. So help us understand more like who you were. Like what would the old heads, when you were growing up, elementary age, what would the old heads, how would they describe who Little Fred was? Running around wild, or what would they say about you?
I've always had old heads to take me under their wing, and they would always say or see something in me that I didn't see, that they would pull me up. They would tell me to do certain things because I had something in my. I've always been genuine, you know what I'm saying, and that to a default at sometimes. But I've always been giving and trusting of others. So an old head would always say, I like that guy right there. You gonna do this, so you gonna do that, and I wasn't trying to do this and that, or be great as they seen me, but I didn't know that I could. From where I was at, and I was satisfied. And I read a book before. It's Satisfied with Nothing. And
it's a cold title. God Almighty.
Satisfied with Nothing, and that's how I was. I didn't know at the time, and we didn't have anything.
Right.
But we did. We had a lot because it wasn't about. You had the basic necessities. And so they would say to me, "You're gonna do this." I like youngin' right there. He gonna,
Yeah. What was what's the earliest memory you had of just having some fun as a kid growing up? Just like think back. I know as an adult sometimes it's like, well, that pressure sit on those shoulders just right, and you just be like, well, I remember it was so.
I remember like as running a business now, I remember that it was just carefree. Like it was nothing for us to ride a bike at 7, 8 years old from one side of Durham to the other side of Durham. Like we would end up at South Square Mall riding a bike. And so that was, so now when I go in neighborhoods like my neighborhood, I see it all the time. Like I might see a kid in my neighborhood that they've been living there 10 years and I never seen the child before. Like, what was that?
Right.
And if I say, oh, he stayed such and such, they've been living there for years. Like I've never seen him outside.
Yeah.
Those walks. played in the creeks and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were fishing then. You know, we was crayfish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Thought you was fishing. Because you definitely gonna come home and say what you caught.
Yeah, we definitely dump them out right
Yeah.
in the stand, kind of greeting, and our moms fuss us out.
What?
Get some things away.
Yo, that's for real. That's for real. Hustle's Rehab. I remember the first time I saw Hustler's Rehab, and we skipped, but I'm gonna go back. But I remember the first time I saw Hustler's Rehab, and I'm talking about like it's a show, because it's a show to me. And I was like, two things I remember. And I remember the first time I saw you do Hustler's Rehab. And I don't know if it was the first time you did it, but that was the first time I remember seeing it. And the other thing I remember is when you came home and you came by the shop and you was like, you were afraid. You came in, you was like, hey man, da 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 da, hey, messing with T and the whole nine and everybody. And I was like, because I've seen a million people come home. Mm-hmm. And they don't come home happy. They don't come home whole. They don't come home human, mm-hmm. right? Sometimes they take months, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of sheltered or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so Fred, look like Fred. You know what I mean? Like, how does Hustler's Rehab start?
Hustler's Rehab started, to me, the first day I was incarcerated. The first day I was incarcerated, but the first time I got a visit. And I got a visit from my mom. And I ran up the steps in the jail and sat down like, what's up? Yeah. How y'all doing? Yeah. And she was just like, I'm straight. I'm straight now because I see you are. Wow. Like you're not fazed by this situation. Mm-hmm. And I told her that I'm fazed by it, but this is the beginning. Mm-hmm. This will take me to the lows that I need to go to to get to the highs that I want to go to, that I know nothing about right now. Yeah. But Hustler's Rehab was that, watching, listening and hearing things continue to go on and seeing how, understanding the system and how the deck was stacked against us. And we played right into it. Like, and nobody told us. We know nothing.
We're gonna touch on that for sure. I wanna so little Fred running around MacDougal. Eventually we hit middle school. So I taught at Neal like probably 20 years ago now. And one thing any teacher would tell you is how important middle school is to everybody, to every child. That's where kids really find their identity, right? I mean, everybody in elementary school is you're just being a kid. That middle school age is where people decide who they're going to be. Hey, I'm going to be the smart guy. Hey, I'm going to be the smart girl. Or hey, I'm going to be the athlete. Or I'm going to be the this. Or I'm going to be the class clown. Oftentimes, we see kids turn middle school into the beginning of their real life path, right? What middle school did you go to?
Hope.
Okay. Did you enjoy school? Or was it just you had to go to school?
I enjoyed school.
Okay. What about school was enjoyable to Fred that you recall?
School? What about school that was enjoyable to me? It was the process. But when I say I enjoyed school, I enjoyed going. I enjoyed my friends. Right. I enjoyed what was going on in school. what you just said was so profound, like middle school, right?
Yeah.
Middle school was the first time I realized that I was behind. And that I was always good in math. Like, I was a poor reader. And middle school was the first time I realized that in order to be this guy and the person, I gotta figure out a way to keep people from knowing that I can't read as well as they can read. And that was part of the conniving and to keep the spotlight off of me, to still have the reputation and the fun and not be picked on and alienated.
Right.
But it came in middle school.
And so a lot of kids today, because school is different today, right? Like we've had people sit in that chair and talk about how they got whippings in school, right? And I was one of those who got whippings. And I remember the first time Kobe realized, like, I was getting hit by teachers, teachers, principals. You know what I mean? That was part of school, right? Also, part of school, I remember, is if you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, it wasn't a lot of nice languages from teachers and principals. You know what I mean? So to hear anyone say, like, I need to cover up this, or I need to cover up that. That's a real thing. That ain't just necessarily from your peer. Like Miss Such and Such might say something crazy too. Because it was several times when I might just didn't do my work right, and now I'm deciding I want to show my tail. And
she'll pull you up,
bro. First thing she say is she ain't saying nothing about me talking or cracking jokes. She gonna say, "Oh boy, I know that ain't Mr. Boyd who ain't did no work this semester." I'm like, bro, what you doing? You know what I mean? Like, that ain't what you supposed to do.
Who can't read?
Come on, man. Who talks like that from the desk? You know what I mean? So that middle school piece. So if we just look back through school period though, did you have a particular teacher that maybe you liked that was like favorite teacher, or a teacher that stood out for any reason? Or
at Houghton Middle School, it had to be Mr. Jonah. And he was I didn't grow up with a dad in the house, and that disciplinary that he applied was like the paddling and the putting hands on you, that was like, oh, he cared, like somebody cared. So even though it hurt, or I was being punished, or it was in pain, but he cared. He cared enough to snatch you up, like put you up, pick you up, and put you on the wall. He's a big dude.
So I'm saying, hey, those when adults set boundaries, it's one thing, but when a man set a boundary to a boy, especially in middle school. In middle school, most of us, we feel like, hey, whatever mom say, you know what I'm saying? So I get that for sure. Let's talk about the paths that eventually led you to your incarceration. What were you convicted of, and how much time did it give you?
I was convicted of not possession, but conspiracy to distribute cocaine.
Okay.
And it was, I don't know how many amounts of kilos they said that we produced in a certain amount of years, or we sold in a certain amount of years, but I was convicted. I took a plea bargain for 10 years for, I want to say like 40.
Okay. What year was this?
This was 99.
Okay. Let's back up a little bit. How do you, looking back now, how do you feel you got to this point in life? Like without going into too many details, because one, I don't believe in telling on yourself.
Yeah.
Two, I also don't want to give out an instruction manual to. You know,
and this was part of the process that in high school when I first started to get involved with the streets. Part of the reason why, and I want to say that's a big part, and I've discussed it with my mom, is because of our living conditions. And I remember, without being too detailed, I remember my mom, stepdad was put out of the house. And everybody wanted him gone, I guess, and my mom really wanted him gone. And she knew that I was hurt by every single time he was put out or something went wrong or something happened, even abuse, that he would end up back. And part of her story was, I got 5 kids. I can't make it. You know, what I make and I can't make it. And the last time that he was put out of the house and we knew he was arrested and we knew that was the end of him, we felt like it was the end of him. I passed, we was all laughing and joking and playing, and we had cooked something to eat, and I passed by her room and she was looking at some bills or something like that, and she was crying. And I said then, like, I'm gonna help her.
Yeah.
Like I see it. I know what it is. Like I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna figure out a way to help her. And like if I could do anything to keep him from breaking up this tight knit family, 5, 2 brothers and 2 sisters and mom, and we was close. If I could keep him from destroying that, I'll do what it takes. And that was the moment that, it didn't start where I just walked down the street and said, hey, let me get in, or I got a job. And, I was working at 13 years old.
Wow.
I worked at Imperial 400 Hotel, the Radisson, I did the paper routes, I did, and it's still like, I still seen, even every time that I would give her either half of my check or my check, or I could still see it wasn't enough. And, I didn't know that I would eventually turn to the streets, but I had friends that were in the streets at the time. And it was like, when I would get paid, I was like, God, I gotta give mama, if I made $400 and something, and that could be for the month or 2-3 weeks. I might have to help my mom and give her $300. And so how would I, to do something, to buy something, to have fun? And my friend I would see my friend that was working with me always. He would go and say, I'm gonna flip this. And I'd be like, wow. He gonna flip it. And then to have money for the next 2 weeks, I'm like, man, why is he doing that?
Got that new bag.
He got that new bro. Like, for real, what's going on? And so I would always, coming from, I worked at food, Winn-Dixie, and just walking to the projects and coming. Before I got home, I would sit down and they'd be on the block. And I sit down, we talk and kick it and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm like, God, it's this easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody just come up
just like standing outside.
Yeah, just standing up like, okay. And that one thing led to another, and I trust in that process that let me flip this and see if I could maintain and see if I could help. And I remember like it was yesterday, my sisters and brothers was my pride and joy, my family. Because to me, I've always been the center core of it. Like my sisters trusted and believed in me, as well as my little brothers. And I remember buying a tennis bracelet in the projects. Somebody's selling it, buying a tennis bracelet and giving it to her. Like these sprinkled diamonds, but we hadn't had, like, I'm getting ready to take my sister, ran and busted in the door, like, here.
That's tough.
And so just to see her, the look on her face there was like, wow, I did something, I'm the man of the house. And I gotta keep it up.
How old are you at this point when you're thinking, that first time you think to yourself, I'm the man of the house?
About 14 years old.
Just let that breathe.
I know. So we got 14 on the block. Let's talk about why we got you there on the block. Let's talk about those days and those nights. I know it wasn't as simple here and there. Like, we talking about hours you had to stand there, right? So can you elaborate on that? If there's any meals coming in, anybody stopping by?
Yeah, I mean, just like those old heads said years ago, I always took that to heart, that I had something that the other guys didn't have. And to me, I would always dissect the situation to see what this man is doing wrong and how I can do it better. And I watched the guys, and most of the times it was recreational use. And I want to know parts of that. If they can't come up because they're enjoying themselves with the same product from here and there, and then I could see it progressing, I want to know parts of that. I'm in it for one reason and one reason only. And I mean, late nights, and I prided myself on being that go-to person that you could get in touch with no matter what time of night, day was it. And I remember a time that when and to go back to say that, even though I prided myself on, okay, they doing this as recreational, I'm no parts of it. I eventually started. And because it was part of the crew, part of the crowd. Started having fun with it. Before I know it, I'm doing it just as much as they doing. And I remember going through addiction and saying, no. And I'm talking about raw, hardcore addiction. And when I decided, when I went after recovery, I looked at recovery like, okay, I got to stay away. I got to get myself straight. But I still watched the guys that came up doing that process. And I felt like they didn't have what I had. So I put an S on my chest. When I get back or when I get right, I'm going to really rip it up. Now, I'm going to go hard. And I can remember my brother. I can remember us at Red Lobster one night, and all of us out there celebrating his birthday.
Y'all had some epic Red Lobster. Red
Lobster was a joke out there.
Hey boy, Red Lobster ain't never seen those type of numbers.
Never. And my brother came to everybody was drinking and playing, and just so happened he came to the bathroom, and everybody at the table, I was almost the new kid on the block as far as the lowest on the block, but he knew that the guys that was over me, he knew I was gonna blow past him. And they all came in the bathroom, and I was in the bathroom, and we had the stall shut. And they was laughing, and I opened the door like, man, y'all chill, like for somebody to come in. And they was like, what you doing in there? And then when I opened the door, they seen two people in there with me. And I'm like, they getting it right here. They were like, man, you in Red Lobster. And when we went back to the table, he was like, it's over for y'all. Like, he's not gonna stop. Like,
man, one of my mans used to work at the lodge there, and the day after y'all left, he got a story. He was like, came to work and came outside the kitchen. He was like, "Well, where everybody at?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Man, they got everybody." It was like, he's like, we lost the change in one day. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
That's insane.
yeah, y'all had some epic times there. So, kind of help paint this picture of when you just. So at some point, right? And this is with anything. This is with life, with business. I know sometimes you start a business and you started with an idea to go a certain place, but it's always about the money. And then at some point you realize in business is like, bro, the money's coming in, but I feel like I'm spending a whole lot too much more time on why staff ain't happy, or I can't get the supplies I need to come in time. And so it's always this kind of like this watershed moment in business, at least, where you say, all right, if the money is why I'm here, and obviously I'm doing something I like, how do I minimize the BS so that, man, being in my own business is fun for me, right? At some point, you're in the streets, and while, yeah, you start out to help moms and to help everyone, at some point, even if you don't mentally say, oh, it's about something else now, at some point you definitely made a lot more money than mom did.
Yeah.
So at some point it kind of got away.
Yeah.
And super intelligent. When you look back at that time now, what do you see? What do you say, like, man, if I would have just, or if, like
I knew it had got away. And I was one of the only ones, and we talk about it today. Like, I was one of the only ones that reminded everybody that it got away, and that we were in trouble. And long before it happened, I knew. I mean, I pride myself on doing the math, and I knew that, okay, what we initially set out to do is no longer exists. You know, and we live in a life that we're not gonna be able to live like this. Like, something is going to happen, and I knew, and I reminded all the guys in the group that we really hung out like, boy, this is getting ready to blow up. This is getting ready to blow up in our face, and so that was one of the. That's one of the reasons why I went to barber school. Because, you know, I worked at the time, even though I had everybody out there. You know what I'm saying? I worked, and I went to barber school because I kept seeing, and I kept saying to myself at night, like I would actually park around the corner from my mom's house, cut through the bushes, and go see her, just so nobody else would see me up there, knock on a door or nothing, and just sit down and have conversations like we way overhead. Like, and I don't know how to back down, to stand down, and so, and she knew that I was sincere. You know, I wasn't brainwashed to think that, like, okay, this is gonna fly.
Right.
I knew it wasn't gonna fly.
Right. Right.
You know, I knew it wasn't gonna fly. I remember.
You knew it wasn't in the NBA.
No, I knew it wasn't in the NBA. I remember a time, like, but to be honest, it happened so fast because a lot of times you this mediocre hustler, right? And then in some form, some way, you catch fire. And we caught fire, like, and it was like, whoa, like, and I remember one time we went to Atlanta doing one of the first Freakniks, and like, I wasn't ready for the success we was having. The money, we had the cars and the jewelry, but I packed my bags I didn't even know about luggage. When I got out of a Range Rover and I had my stuff in a trash bag, because when we went to White Lake and places, as kids with my mom, we packed our stuff in a bag, like in a little trash. And man, that was the biggest joke of the whole weekend. When they seen me walking in this, I'm coming in the CNN hotel, you know what I'm saying? Just getting out of range. And but it was what you call hood rich, you know what I'm saying? Like I really did, and then when my brother him tripped, like, you know, luggage, and I was like, luggage? Like, where we get some luggage from? Like, you gotta go to the mall.
And nobody ever told me about the luggage store.
Nobody told me that. Like, I threw everything in a bag, you know what I'm saying? And put it in the bag and came down, like, and boy, they laughed, man. We still laugh about that.
Yeah. So is your story back and forth to jail a lot, or you get a nice serving and like?
So my story wasn't back and forth to jail a lot. My story was, you know, at interdiction, I kind of had those run-ins with the law, and you know, I would get arrested and I'd get right back out, and, you know, because it was a little petty stuff. And then when I finally got on, that I could maneuver away from anything that was gonna happen. Anything that was local, I was too big for it then. Like, you were not going to, I don't care what happened, I knew that I was gonna be able to get out of it, because I knew I had the money to get out of it. And when you, like, and then when I got hit, like, oh man, this is a whole different ball game right here. But anything that would have, you know, I thank God that it wasn't a local thing, because if it was a local thing, I don't care what it was, I would have paid it to get out of it. And I know I would have been able to get out of it if it's local. You know, the lawyers, that's how we did them. You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with the local lawyers, you know.
What is, so you've already said that you thought, even in the process, man, this is getting away from me. Do you believe, looking back, that you had the ability to put on brakes?
No, we were stuck there.
Yeah.
I was stuck.
That's the story that's never told. Nobody ever talks about. So like, when you're addicted to a drug, like, that conversation is easy. It's like, hey, I'm addicted. And there was no way for me to just say, yeah. I mean, if you go, you know, do the addiction process, it's always changing people, places, and things. Admit you got a problem. You know, you go through all the 12 steps, right? But nobody talks about that other side where, man, you just are stuck.
And I mean, I've always considered myself like a simple dude, but I'd say 75% of the reason why I was stuck was because of everybody else. I had a burden on my shoulder to take care of so many people and provide for so many people. And I could not say, you know, if I just helped you get a house, or I just helped you get a car, or, you know, I put people through college and, you know, the whole nine. So to say, like, I'm saying it to my mom in these conversations, I'm saying it to the dudes in the crew, we done got over our head, but to stop, I couldn't stop. The debt was stacked against me, and not stuff that I acquired. It was everybody else. It was everybody else. And that was one of the hard pills to swallow when everything came tumbling out. Everybody kept rolling. Everybody kept moving. Everybody kept buying, you know, everybody kept buying cars. Everybody paid their mortgage. Everybody went to work, and I was like, wow, like, and where I made up in my mind that I couldn't, because I had to take care, I had a responsibility to take care of everybody else. When they started taking care of themselves, I had to look myself in the mirror and realize that I went too far, and that it got out of control.
That's crazy you said that way, because I remember years ago, I'm going to one of my mentors in business, and I'm telling him, I'm saying, man, I got people who work for me, and they ain't really upholding their end of the bargain, right? Like, but I don't want to let them go because I know their situation, and if it wasn't for this job, that I presented, and he told me, he said, yeah. So what I learned, this is his words. He said, I go to a conference, I get there late, and I hear a speaker saying, some of y'all got employees back home that y'all won't let go. And y'all won't let them go because y'all are selfish. And he was like, he said, the speaker said, you think you're doing it to help them, but actually, you don't believe they can survive without you. And because now you're so selfish that they can't make it without you, your business is suffering. Your life is suffering because you got people holding on to you that if you let them go tomorrow, they won't look the other way the next day.
Oh my God.
And when he told me that, I wrestled with it when he said it, right? And then I remember thinking, because I remember calling him late one night, I said, man, talk me through that again, right? You know how things go at nighttime. Nighttime, that thing starts speaking louder, right? Yeah, so I'm like, talk me through that again. He said, listen. So he walked me through it again. I said, okay, all right. And then he says, Ed, why did you hire him? If you just talk about one person, why did you hire him? I was like, what do you mean? He said, you had a job that needed to get done. And so you hired that person to do it. If they're not doing it now, why are they still at? And man, I took on what he said that day. I said, so from then on, I always tell people, I've never fired anybody my whole life. If the company has a job that needs to be done and you can do it, we're gonna pay what it pays. Right? The day you can't do it, you just quit. You know what I mean? I just had to say it in a different term. You know what I mean? And so when I hear you saying that, man, like I really understand that how you look at that situation is like, bro, I got all this stuff and I ain't this stuff I ain't want. I mean, not saying that you weren't enjoying it, but it was like, hey, I can do without this.
And you know, that part of being selfish was me. Like, I thrived. You could say all you want to that it didn't make you, or I began it. You have no choice but to thrive. And so I complained to my brother about stuff he was doing. To me, he was too flashy. And then I would turn around and buy the same thing. Like, he would convince me, like, what's that? Like, cause I'm hood. And he come back with a watch or something. Like, okay, like, you got a what? I see them on TV. Okay, and like, how I get one? But then but before I ask how I get one, I might go home to my girl and be like, man, he gonna get us locked up, man. He crazy, man. He doing this and he gonna get us messed up. And then the next day or 2 weeks later, I'm like, hey, see if I can get one. So that space and leadership is always crazy though. When you go in. And we're definitely going to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's important that the people hearing us understand that there's a time, just like there's a time that you decide mentally that, hey, I got to do something different to make more money. There's a time that you say mentally, hey, well, I can't go that path again. Is that before you become incarcerated or after? After.
Okay. What was it that makes you? Is it just the weight of the time itself? Because we see, the story. We see people do that time and come home and give them, hey, I got 10 more years to get y'all.
I'm a true believer that just looking at the circumstances, I just felt like this was beneath me. Like, and not just the incarcerated part, the street hustle part.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't take a rocket scientist to do that. Some people say, you know, if you could do this, you could do that. But, you know, I didn't believe it. I felt like, man, I can't believe I stooped to that level. Like, I got so much more in me that I can offer that was a small part. Like, now I gotta really dig deep and find out what I want to do and how I want to do it, and apply the same. I knew I had the hustle and the effort.
Yeah.
You know, I knew I had the mindset for whatever it was.
Right.
I had to apply it. You know, like you said, it's not easy, and days and nights, and it's not easy doing it that. But I knew if I went to that extent with that, like if I could be on call 24/7 and make it happen, then I could do that legitimately. And so I said in my mind how I got into the cleaning, you know, working in prison.
Okay.
Working in prison, that was my job.
Okay.
And in a government building you go into, you can look at the floors, and the floors is like on 1,000. And they take pride in, you know.
Target and shame.
Yeah, put target and shame.
Sir.
I mean, and dudes buff them and what? Daily.
We'll kill you over
I'm talking, yeah, we'll kill you over them floors.
For real.
And so when I learned it, I was like, man, I could take this.
Yeah.
I had a counselor, a real man. And when I say this guy was terrible in West Virginia, when I say redneck, straight redneck, but for some reason, I don't know, he took a liking to me, and he took a like. I feel like I know why he took a liking to me is because I didn't fear him. No matter I'm already locked up. Like, I'm not gonna stand to the side for you when you walk by. I'm gonna just keep walking. I'm not doing anything wrong. I can't go nowhere. So. And he watched that, and where people run and they told and they was in the stuff, I wasn't. And I was the same way with him all the time. Always smiling, always doing what I'm doing, but never running and jumping when he came around. Like, it didn't make my skin crawl because you're doing your job. And I was his head orderly is head janitor in prison, and I was the head orderly. And I went in his office one day to order some supplies, get him to order supplies, and I seen a janitorial magazine on the table, and I was like, and while I was telling him to order, and I was reading the stuff on the magazine, and I was like, dang. I was like, is that your magazine? And he fired off on me like, how dare you ask me if that's my magazine? Like, you can't have it. Like, you an inmate. Like, yeah, I wasn't asking for it. You know what I'm saying? But she's asking if that was your magazine. What's the name of it? I can get it ordered from my wife to get, to send it to me. And, I left, no problem. And later on, when I got back to my cube, it was on my locker. And I was like, whoa. And he didn't do nothing with nobody for nobody. It was sitting on my locker, and with name tore off of it and his address and everything. And I started digging through them, reading them front to back. And he started, every time he got one, it would just be on my locker. And so and when I would go in there sometimes, he would tell me, how he had a friend that was in cleaning services. And he was telling me how much more money they made over him. Like, and I'm like, he was like, you'd be surprised, the stuff that you do here, the crew that you run here, the chemical, he was like, you can do this for a living. And he he would make jokes. You could stop selling dope and do this for a living, you know. And yeah, like, okay. And so I set that in my mind, like, I'm gonna be the best floor man.
While I
was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you decide then that you're going to be the best there, and that's going to translate to starting your own business when you come out?
Yes.
So when you come out, hit the ground running, got a plan in hand.
Yes.
What's the first stumbling block?
The first stumbling block was business is not all about the work. I can do the work. The biggest stumbling block has been the business part of it. The setting up the business, the bookkeeping. Those were the stumbling blocks. The getting registered. Everybody can do the work.
Yeah.
I could do the work and do the work well. Being able to deal with employees, being able to, man, a huge stumbling block was emails. Like, call me, like, and when I started dealing with corporate offices, who gonna call me?
You didn't get a phone call.
Get a phone. And so I was like,
may never ask you for your number.
If you just call me, I can be wherever, whenever you want. And I had to like sit down and say, I can't work. This is the work.
It's part of the business.
This is part of the business. If I sit and answer these, like I didn't want to put the emails on my phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to answer no emails.
You was just fighting.
Yeah, I was fighting.
Yeah.
But I was holding myself back with that.
Right, for sure.
Because my mindset was old hustle way.
Yeah, that's what I was telling my man this one time. It's been some years now since he came on, and he was like, man, all I kept telling myself was, if I could do what I did before, everybody's always telling me like, man, you can run in there, have a business, and I told him, I said, listen, bro, before you were selling the product that don't need any marketing, no advertising, you know what I mean? They
gonna come get it.
Customers just looking, right? You know what I mean? I said, what you've proven already though is that you'll work.
Yeah.
So somebody be happy to hire you, but if you really gonna start your own business, you got to learn the business part too. And he was still in the halfway house. He was like, he looked me right in my face. He said, you're a dream killer. And I was like, nah, bro. I was like, you getting ready to get out of here. And I don't want you to jump out here with a dream. I want you to jump out here with a plan. You know what I mean? Like, the system love to sign off on all the dreams. You know what I'm saying? And act like it's a plan.
Oh, they'll tell you.
Come on, dog.
They'll tell you. Y'all say that all the time. Because they know it's just a dream.
For sure.
There's no plan behind it.
For sure.
Everybody's gonna do this. They hear it all the time, just like everybody in us. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's gonna do this. But it's, a guy told me before, he said starting a business is just like robbing a bank. He said everybody knows what they want to do when they rob the bank. They want to go in and get the money. He said once they go in and get the money, they don't have no plan with what they're gonna do, where they gonna go, what they gonna do with the money, that plan was to go in and get the money. He said, and that's where they go wrong.
So you jump out here in business, and I remember in the beginning it was just you, right? And how are you initially getting contracts, getting business? Because one of the biggest parts of any business is landing the contract, right? Whether it's hey, bro, just come do my store or whatever it is, but how do you say, I'm going to get these businesses, I'm going to get these contracts, excuse me, and at what point? Now let's start there. How do you start by getting business?
I started off going door to door.
Wow.
And being a friendly person.
Yeah.
Even if I've touched bases in so many places that I could not get in at that time, but I made a relationship with somebody that was in there. Just by I was never afraid to say, this is who I am and this is what I can do.
Yeah.
And that started coming back to me.
Yeah.
That started. I remember the first time, and I tell people this too. When I first started my business, I prayed for contracts, big contracts. And the first big contract I got after we got 40 stores, 40 Food Line stores. And my partner got me. And he was in Virginia. He was locked up with me. And he told me, man, I just ran into 40 stores. Can we do them? And I said, we can do them. And he said, let's do them. And so we set up to do them. I actually went to Virginia in my truck, equipment, everything, left my house, my wife, everything. And I'm gonna come back and forth every couple of days, and we're gonna do these stores. 7 stores in, they put us out. They told us, they sent us an email, said, don't come back in there. Don't come back in there, one of the stores. Yeah.
What was the reason?
Because we didn't know what we was doing. I felt like I could do a barbershop. I could do certain places. I could do a daycare. I could do these places. AutoZone. I could do, and I didn't know. I had never done something that size that fast and overnight. But I felt like it was the same principles, right? And so I was over my head. So we was like, whoa, like what in the world? And after we supposed to be out the store at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they couldn't open the store till about 10, 11 o'clock, because we were still in there. We couldn't figure out, and it was embarrassing, man. It was I was heartbroken, but it was one of those teaching moments, because when we got put out, before I came home, the next night another crew took over, and he had heard this crew runs the whole area, and so I said, I want to see them.
Yeah.
And so instead of going home, I didn't go home. I waited, ate, when we got up, chilled out, went around, and I was there when they got there. And I asked them, could I work? And they was like, nah, we got enough room, but this is the one guy that owned the company. Come. And so I was like, okay, cool. Now that was my little plan. I got to get in the store with them and see what they do different. And they wouldn't let me. And so I went and got back in my car, and take it, it's about 30 degrees. And so I went and got back in my car, and I parked. I drove away and parked down the street, and I said, all right, they don't let me in this big window. I'm gonna see what they do. And I said, once they get started, I'm gonna watch. And so about 30 minutes to an hour later, everybody left the store. I watched them. I seen them in the front, coming through the front, and I went and parked my car, and I went and stood outside for about 2 hours just watching. And I watched what they was doing, and it was simple things that we hadn't even thought about doing.
It's the information.
Yeah, it was information, and I was like, wow, and equipment. And I was like, wow, like, look at them move, like. And a simple thing was, we had mop buckets, and they had trash cans. And so where we was wasting time running back to fill up a mop bucket, they had a trash can this high full of water. And they ain't have to dump, they filled it up twice. So halfway through the store, they go dump it half, and it was like, wow, like.
And you say that piece of the process saving,
it saved the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of halfway through every hour, you got to change 2 or 3 buckets.
Right.
2 or 3 buckets. Go get water. You're waiting. And I watched them, and I was like, wow. And I looked at the equipment, and I took pictures of them, and they was looking out the window like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, this guy taking pictures of us.
Yeah.
And I was sitting back saying, I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
I'm coming to get that.
Yeah. No, that's tough. That's tough.
I'm going to get another shot.
That's tough. Everybody successful in business got that story.
Yeah.
You
gotta have one of those stories.
I remember landing a contract one time at this mall, and I'm super young and cleaning it, and I oversold. You know what I mean? Like I could do the work, but anyway, it's in another city, another state, and I remember when we landed, the numbers were so crazy. You're like, bro, we can't tell them no, even if we, you know what I mean?
Yeah, even if we wanted to.
Man, so we only got the process to go to that city and hire people, right? So we hit there, and I'm telling them, man, I'm like, listen, I know the type of people who we're gonna have to hire, so we just gonna go to those hotels, those motels.
Yeah.
We'll put it together.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a while. I remember it's less than a weekend. Probably 3 or 4 days in, nobody showed up.
I had the same thing.
Bro, we gotta clean a mall. Hey, it's a Saturday night. And so I'm already here. I'm pushing this big trash joint, right? It's my contract. The numbers is crazy, but it don't matter because the work is the work.
Yeah.
And teenage kids out here in the mall doing what teenage kids do.
Yeah.
Throwing the drink at him. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, what you doing? You know what I mean? So, but it was a similar situation where the GM steps in of the mall and it's like, hey, just want to have a conversation about the status.
Yeah.
Talk my way through it.
Yeah.
But I see that he let me know, I don't care who cleaned this joint.
Yeah.
My job is dependent on it getting done.
Yeah.
So I like you guys, Well, he slid to us the information of the people who had it previously. He said, listen, I never had a problem with them. They just didn't bid low enough this time. And so they lost it. They had it for however many years. He said, if you guys value what you're trying to do, I will reach out to him. I'm gonna reach out to him also. I'm gonna reach out to him. He told me straight up. I'm gonna reach out to him and let him know, hey, people we got.
Yeah, they need some help.
Right. And you can help them if you want to, And so I'm thinking, man, we get ready to have this phone call and he gonna throw the numbers to the roof.
Yeah.
He gonna try and tank us. Bro, he taught us everything we need to know. One of the things he taught us, we wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to just tell him after about a week with him and a few of his people, I looked at him, I was like, bro, we got the contract for 2 more years. We'll subcontract you. I ain't gonna take nothing. If you pay the insurance, we won't even take her. You know what I mean? Because we ain't
ready.
Yeah, we wasn't ready, man.
Yeah,
but
throw the towel in.
what?
Yeah.
Man. And I remember him telling me, well, one of the old heads on his staff told me, he said, hey, sometimes quitting, you don't quit when you quit. Sometimes you're doing the right thing. And that was one thing I'll never forget. So when I heard that story, you telling me, I'm like, yeah, because
I mean, it took 7 nights, but it won't but 3 nights or 2 nights when I realized, we over our head. Like, there's no way we're gonna make it to 40, but I'm in because you know he called me and he trusted me, but he was in because he's supposed to did the hiring and man, we was running rack.
And the other thing too is just like kind of like when you were talking about the streets, at some point everybody got to understand where is a nice place for them to fit in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everybody who started rapping can't be Jay-Z. That's right. You got to look in the mirror sometimes and be like, hey, well, I might just be I might be a legend around my folks, right? Or I might just rap at the cookout. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at some point, and I think in business, that's one of the things that we have to learn too, right? Mm-hmm. At some point, we got to say, oh, well, you know what? I might can't do this, but if this is a nice spot I can get in, I can specialize in that, and can't nobody else. Yeah. And so that's tough. And so you've been in business now
13 years.
I feel like, oh God, 13 years. I know you got stories.
Yeah.
Man, it's been 13 years.
Yeah. 13 years.
Man, man, I'm proud of you, Doc. For real. For real. Is there a point? Because I want to talk about the high moments, right? Mm-hmm. People always see business, always think the high moments are the money. Like they don't realize like how much. Like, sometimes it's just the freedom it gives you to spend time with your family when they need you to. Mm-hmm. But the low moments come too, right? Mm-hmm. Have the low moments had you thinking throw in the towel completely? Or how close did the low moments take you? Because it's hard, and too many people talk about how sexy it is.
The low moments had me. I mean, if you don't contemplate throwing in the towel, you ain't in business.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've thought about it many. You know, I've sat down and talked with my wife and said, I'm gonna get a job.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna shut this down because I just can't. Like, I can't keep up, and I can't find my niche. Like what I'm supposed to be doing that makes me feel like I'm relevant in this industry. And I've taken on jobs that I couldn't handle. I've picked up rugs that I couldn't do. I've hired people that like just, I mean, we know the story on that. Like, and I was, you know, I was saved the community when I started. Like, say my whole strip team was a bunch of felons. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one night we was riding. We was going to a hosky, and we was riding, and I was driving. Everybody was asleep, and I said, "We going to Strip and Wax, a food line. We've been all on the coast, Nag Heads, all the way up. We coming up through a hosky, and we was heading to a store, and I got a call, and it was a judge, federal judge, and he said, you know, I started talking to him, and so I said his name, Judge, and everybody was asleep. Man, everybody woke up.
Alarm went off.
I said, and they just, I mean, after a while, talking, laughing, and talking to him, when I glance over, I look, I see this dude looking at me like, this dude having a conversation with a judge, like, I look back in the back and I started laughing, like, when I get off the phone, he was like, man, you talking to a judge? I was like, yeah. It's like, you talking to a judge? And I'm like, yeah, he know your number? Yeah, I know his number too. Like, I was like, man, there's circles I'm trying to get into, and, you know, we just have a friendship, a relationship. You know, and so those are high moments. Because Hustlers Rehab is about, I don't know if cleaning or carpet cleaning or running a business in this industry is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like my destiny. I don't know that, but I knew that I had to turn the corner some way. And I knew that if I turned the corner, if I found something to turn the corner, then I could also, you know, I'm just not preaching to the choir. Stop this, do this, do this. I'm gonna show you how I built something with some of the same principles, legitimate.
Yeah.
And so my passion is helping others. Building this community, building Durham, like seeing us, come up. That's why, I'm black, pro-black, you know what I'm saying? I'm pro-brother, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get in the middle because I just believe that we need that for each other. You know what I'm saying? And so, running that business was my way of saying, I need to do this first for myself.
Yeah.
First thing, it was for myself. I need to stay on track online for myself. Once even though I was convinced when I got out of prison that was history, I had a whole community that I knew I had to convince to. That I had to show that. Because, from it never stopped. I'd had people visiting me in prison that would come to visit me and ask me for some money. Ask me, they laid on their car payment. I'm like, man, I've been locked up 5 years, man. And I knew those same people were still waiting with the same dream, same hope. And so, even though I was convinced, didn't know what I was knew I was gonna do that, but didn't know how I was gonna get into it, I knew I had to change their mindset. I had to have them see me as now I've come to know and understand that everybody's not gonna see me like that. Everybody doesn't see me like that. There are people that still think that, because I hear it sometimes, like the craziest thing, like, how many stairs I went up and down today, like.
Hey, and the same way you see at some point in life, you see yourself as you can save them. These people that wake up every day looking to be saved.
Yeah.
And so
that has been a hard lesson. But it's been more of a PowerPoint to me because once I started crossing that bridge, I seen more success. It was like, even though I was holding myself back, but they were helping hold me back because I was holding on to them. And the moment that I realized that we were on two different playing fields, and I decided to let go. I give my wife so much credit for that because she like a no nonsense like she just ain't having it. Like, I don't care who it is, what it is, it don't make sense. No. And she didn't think, and I would always have to, if I didn't run it by her, I would always have to go back to her to help me pick up my spirits in making the same mistake over and over again. Being left out there trying to save somebody over and over again. And she didn't throw bricks at me, and I told you.
Tough.
She didn't talk to me like that. I just watched what she did. And I used to tell her, how is it so easy to say no? Like, how is it so easy to walk away? Like,
hey, bro, I was telling my one of my younger cousins one time, he was just getting into business, and I told him, I said, bro, I know what you see when you see me. I said, but it took a long time for me to get to wherever I'm at. But one of the things that slowed my process was, so I would, let's say for example, if I'm starting a business, I'm gonna rent a space from somebody else, right? And the people I'm renting from, they ain't signed up to help my folks. They signed up because they believed in the business, believed in me, and they just want their rent. Now, I'm bringing people in, and they can't always get their things together, and I understand everybody's situation, but I felt at a point where you get caught in between, right? It's like, man, I'm giving everybody a break, and ain't nobody giving me the break. And I remember telling him, listen, bro, it's gonna sound crazy, because I remember when I was young as an entrepreneur, how I used to look at older black men who were entrepreneurs, because I felt like they didn't give me a break. And I felt like I was feeling a certain type of way, right? And I grew into understanding why they were doing it.
Me
like,
too.
Bro, ain't nobody out here trying to help you.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to help people, you need to flat out find a way to help. But if you start a business, you're in a whole realm of people that all they want is their money, right? And so if you slow to pay a vendor, if you this and this and that, they don't care what's. And so yeah, I know. And to that one point you just mentioned though about trying to turn the corner or turn the corner, I think definitely keep, everybody gonna find out their path. But one thing I point to is Ice Cube. Bro, it's 2 generations of kids that don't even know he a rapper. You know what I mean? And so, you might.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. That's absolutely right.
It's like literally 2 generations. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Bro, it's some people now that just like all they know is the big 3.
Yeah.
And then my kids, they only knew the movies, like and so if they would see him, singing F the Police in concert like we did, like, bro, this is, you know what I mean? So that's tough on that joint. Help move us to, what does it mean to have Fred Hayes as your brother, husband, father? What's the family? How important is that to you? And what does that feel like to everybody else?
What does it feel like to me? It feels like we're just getting to a place to where, and maybe not just getting to a place, but we're to a place now where I value that family like I did when we were in the projects. Like I did when we were that close-knit family. Like, the other layers of my story, my life, took me away from that.
Yeah.
And coming back to it now is like, it's all about us.
Yeah.
This is my core circle and group. And, it took a long time for me to realize who had my back, who really had my back, not based on me not being able to give them nothing, who really had my back, like, because I had a list of ones that I thought had my back, and then now I know who that is, and that's just like that little circle we had in the project. Whether we like, I laugh at my wife and now, and I, because I don't eat Chinese food. And I said, we never eat no Chinese food in the project. Like, when y'all start eating Chinese food there? Like for real, like.
Back then, it wasn't even nowhere.
Yeah, what was a Chinese restaurant? Like, who started that?
Now that you say it, I'm thinking about, like, in Durham, it wasn't even a Chinese spot.
And I'm like, when did y'all start eating Chinese food? And so it's like that little core group, and it's rewarding the older you get to be back in that core group. You know what I'm saying? To see people, and that doesn't say that my heart is not with Durham, because it is. My heart is with other business owners. My heart is like, but I know where I should be at mentally and physically, where my effort should go to. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it started at. That's what, like, it was just like, look, you can talk about your sister, but you can't let nobody else talk about your sister. Yeah. But when I got out there, certain circumstances, I could hear people talking about my sister or my brother. And it'd be like, well, this situation you in. And okay, now money changes things. Like, you don't compromise that circle now because you let that money deceive y'all, and so people can try to hurt your friend or your brother or and you okay it, not okay it, but it's compromised because of money. Because you could get, I mean, like when I went to barber school, I talked about it. One of the key moments in my life that helped me after that storm of hustling and everything was barber school was the rawest, purest thing to me because nobody in there knew I hustled. Nobody in there knew I had money. And to keep it like that, I ran back to the back of the room every day during break and lunchtime and ate a peanut butter sandwich or a bologna sandwich. And I might have $60,000 in my car that I got to drop off when I leave. And I got to take somewhere or 4 or 5 Jones. And nobody knew it. And everybody was back there and can I get a dime to get drinking and this and that. And nobody knew that I had. And it felt, because it was the one time with all the stuff that was going on in my town that I really was treated like one of the dudes. Like that's my man Fred, and we all trying to learn how to cut hair, and I ain't know how to cut, so you know what I'm saying. But and then it blew out of control when it changed, and they found out. When they found out, it was like I was like, man, that piece that I had
messed it up.
When nobody in the whole school knew nothing, and I went in there and act like just one of the guys. And I said, boy, the moment that if I let them into this secret that I got going on, it's gonna change it. It's gonna compromise who I am.
Well, you mentioned growing up with your mom and your biological father not being in the picture. Just from what I see on how you move on social media, you have decided that you're gonna that's something you want to address moving forward as far as how you stand in that circle. When is it that you decide that not having your father in your life was an issue and that's something that you want to address? Did you notice it growing up, or
my dad is Bill Hayes' brother, and Bill Hayes was coach of A&T and Winston-Salem State and athletic director, and so I'm a Hayes, and not having him, always had, and watching him either on TV or hearing about them in Greensboro or Winston-Salem, and we weren't close, and we didn't feel like we were missing anything until we seen them like they had their dad there. And the things that they were accomplishing made me feel like it's just my mom and we struggling because we don't have this. And anytime she had a mate or a boyfriend and this and that, we steered it like it was corruption in it. And with my kids, I vow that I'm gonna show them what it feels like, what I wanted for myself, like things I wanted to tell my dad. Like I just took me and my son went to a comedy show 2 weekends ago. He came here from Georgia, and we just hung out. And he's an introvert, and and we hung out, and it was just like, wow, man, like nobody ever took me out like that as a young boy or as an adult or like a man. I've never had a male figure in my life to guide me. Never, ever, like close knit. You know what I'm saying? There was some teachers, there was some guys from the hood, or but never. And so I made it my business that I had girls and I had one son. So I made it my business that I'm gonna be a part of their life. Now, being that, like you said earlier, like men, I feel like at times, and I've grown in that, I'm a little old school with that. I'm the structure, and I will support you, but I don't support nothing that ain't right. Nothing. So
1,000%.
And I've battled with my kids, my family. Like if it ain't right, like I don't compromise what I believe and what I've done and where I've been. Period. I don't care who it is. There's no compromise.
Right. And
they've seen it in a lot of ways that why I didn't compromise, because when it bit them just like I knew it would bite them, then they say, like, I need to come back your way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not gonna bite me that way. It might be hard, but it's not gonna bite me that way. And so it's important to me to speak to my daughters and have a relationship, because I remember calling her. I remember my daughter telling me for the first time in prison that she had just came on a menstrual cycle. That was something that just ate me up. Like, I am in prison, like, and none of the clothes or the things that I did, like, I know some guys, and I won't mention no name, like, after I went through what I went through, and I came home and I would pull them up on what I seen them doing. Like, I had a grudge with them because I knew like what they were gonna go through with daughters and sons, and like man, you just don't know how painful that is. If you really love this little girl, like, you can't be out of her life 20 years. Like, it's impossible. You can't. And so it was like we didn't sit eye to eye, because I knew what was gonna happen, and I knew that just the short term flash was gonna just destroy those kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was selfish. It was a selfish move.
Yeah. How much time did you end up doing altogether?
8 years.
8 years. When you come home and you've got this direction now, let's fast forward. You come home, you get on the path of this business, find your wife, things are just kind of boom, 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 and you look up and you're successful in every way every way that anybody could check a box. You've now checked that box. Like, you ain't doing nothing to hurt nobody. You ain't doing nothing to society say it's wrong. Standing tall, ain't compromising. All of those things come full circle, and now you sit with your family, and like you say now, like, man, that's like the most important time. I remember this lyric that Jay-Z said. He was like, on one of the recent CDs, it was, well, one of his latest, it was like I drove every V12 engine. Something. Like basically that meant nothing at the end of the day. Right? Even in business, we kind of lose our way, right? And you start thinking it's all about the money, and it's all about this and all about that. You seem to really have your compass where it needs to be, and not compromising, not letting someone sway you one way or another. I know it's not easy. What are some of the challenges that you have just on the course of a daily basis as a black man, as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a father, etc.? Because like I say all the time, and I don't mind being the one that's gonna say that. I tell anytime, let me say the way it comes to me. That's why when younger guys come to me and like, hey, I'm thinking about being an entrepreneur, the first thing I always tell them, hey, if you come to me talk about business, you can go get that anywhere. There's books all over the place. This is what I'm gonna tell you. If you're gonna be a black man in business, go ahead and understand now that nobody is gonna wake up every day and give a damn about how you feel or how things work out for you that day, but you. And so it's gonna be one of the loneliest paths you're gonna ever take, because even amongst success, you're gonna have problems just like everybody else has problems. And like I said before, an old mentor of mine told me, ain't no sympathy for success. And so you find yourself in this space where like, man, I'm dealing with certain things and I don't feel like I got nobody I can talk to about. How does Fred handle that life that he's now put himself into?
You know what? I told my wife the other day, the other morning, because I had some work coming up and I had other things going on in the business, and it wasn't a stressful time, but it was just like I had things on my plate that I needed to do here, there, and I'm trying to put everything together in my mind and have everything. And I was laying in bed and she was talking. I worked daily routine and she was talking, and I told her to stop. And she looked at me and I said, I'm meditating. And she was like, okay. And she stopped, and I told her, I said, I left, ended up leaving before I could see her again. She took a shower. I ended up leaving, but halfway through she came back home later in the day, and then I explained to her that I said, hey, I don't want you to think like I've learned to come back to the table and tell you what's going on with me. I haven't always been able to talk to you like that. I haven't always been able to express myself in that way. But this is what is going on. I'm running a business. I'm the head of the household. I take it's not easy. It's even though you see me do it day in and day out, it ain't nothing easy about it. You know what I'm saying? Shit just don't fall off a tree. You know what I'm saying? It is painful and it's brutal out here. And my thing is that I just get a piece of mind and quiet. And I find it like when I don't work with, like in times and days that I need that, I work by myself. And I'll schedule, like I love going into a rental property or a building or something and I'm by myself. And there's no music and it's almost like I'm at peace. I'm at, and I get to think, I get to pray, I get to cry, I get to just like, wow, this is overwhelming, but I can't stop now. You know what I'm saying? I get this, and I talk to myself, and you're right. There's nobody out there to tell. There's nobody out there to tell. There's nobody out there to talk to, because they can dissect it however way, and each situation is different.
Don't nobody want to hear what Fred.
No.
If anybody know your story, even from afar, don't nobody want to hear not one of your problems. Right? They saw you hit the mountain, or what they think is the mountain. Right? They see you come home. They see you hit the mountain again. So I know wearing that, right? Like I said, ain't no sympathy for success, but at the same time, black men gotta have a release.
I am reading a book about mental health now. And through trying to reach people in the community, through old relationships with guys and things, I started understanding that my approach didn't work for every situation, and that I had to, if I couldn't have compassion for that, then I had to grow my learning in other ways with mental health. And like it's a mental health process to see somebody do that same thing over and over again, you know, and you know, and I ride with them and I support them and we set things up and I like, are you doing that again?
Yeah.
Have you seen a guy the other day and you know, I can smell it a mile away. You know what I'm saying? You can't pull no cover over my eyes. And I left the store, the gas station, just heart crushed, like, for him. But I carried it also, that weight of the community of them guys, like, on my shoulders. And I started having to read and meditate. So I wouldn't carry all that all the time. Like, I couldn't save everybody. And so, you know, I seen him, but I snapped out of it. But leaving the gas station, it broke my heart to see that. Like, wow, like, how much pain, like.
You mentioned something earlier that really resonated when you said it. I wanted to come back to it. I'm going to still be a good steward of time and get us out of here on time. But you said some of the things that you'll hear. It's like, man, where does that come from? Like, I remember going through that, I guess that phase. I've always been the kind of cat, like I'm gonna say, I don't give a shit about what people think or say. But in my heart, I don't think I'm ever the person that's gonna do anything to intentionally hurt someone, right? Now, you know, just like anybody else, if I feel like you're intentionally trying to do something to me, I think, you know, all cards on the table, right? But at the end of the day, my granddad used to always tell me, hey, you need to always be able to, before you go to bed, you need to be able to look in the mirror and be happy with the person you see. And so a lot of times that, I go through that in my mind, like with some crazy stuff going on, I'm like, well, if I do that, I ain't gonna like, you know what I mean? But sometimes you'll hear, like, man, you know, my circle know at this point, like, bro, I don't even want to know. You know what I mean? Like, because people, you know, when you're younger, you really just want to address everything, right? But, you know, at a certain point, you realize that people will just lie. Like, it don't got to come from nowhere. It don't got to mean nothing. They just decide to open their mouth and, you know, and a lie came out, right? Already wearing every cape you got to wear. And then throw on top of that whatever rumors that might float around. And then you're submerged in that, just demonstrating what success looks like, right? When I look at Hustle's Rehab, I'm like, I see the smile. And I know that smile don't come easy, right? Especially at this point in anyone's life, and with anyone's story. And so that's why you were one of the first ones I started trying to get in touch with. I remember a few years ago when I think you had spoke at Hillside with the football team or somebody. And I know a kid that was there, and he circled back and kind of told me how impactful it was. And I told him, I mean, he had a kid, but I told him, I said, bro, you need to reach out and let him know how impactful it was. And he was like, he told me he was, I know he wasn't though. I mean, we were kids. I say all that to say this, the good that you do, it's gonna be rare that somebody's gonna come up to you and be like, bro, you know what I mean? I wanna let you know, right? This is just for me. This ain't about going fishing. This ain't about nothing. This is for me. Bro, I'll tap on, I jump on social media to post and then I'm out, right? I'll jump on social media, bro, and look, you're one of the few joints I'll look up and be like, bro, let me see. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I appreciate that. You know what I mean? So don't stop. I know some of those days you're probably doing it through some pain. But bro, that stuff is helping people, bro. So don't stop. You know what I mean?
I can, you know, say I get away from the Hustle's Rehab. And
because you'll leave me dry for
it's not anything orchestrated. it's what I see, what I'm going through, what I believe, and somebody will stop me. Very few people, but I have had people, like I be in the van and somebody scream and I've never seen them, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I need some hustle rehab, bad. And I'm like, I'm gonna get it to you right now.
Yeah, that's
and
real.
then I get on, because I already have something I'm going through or I've gone through, and I put it out there. And I say, just like I needed that rehab. That it's just like being away from that drug, that lifestyle. I needed it, and I needed it. I was what's the word for it? Like you would say, Bin Laden or somebody. That's as I seen. I can't say it didn't destroy my life, but I seen. I was blessed to be able to turn around. Didn't switch, but I seen so many lives destroyed. Like I had an argument or a dispute argument with some family members a couple of years ago, dealing with my child, one of my kids, right? And telling me how I'm just going too far with a situation, right? And I'm telling them it's just like you just take weed for an example, and smoking or whatever the case, and it being recreational, but I see behaviors. It's just not the weed. I see behaviors, right? And so I say, I said in this thing, I started out with 7 homeboys smoking, and it's only 2 of us left. Don't tell me it was no because we all did it recreation. We all, we had no plot and no plan for it to take off and destroy. Through death, through prison, through being homeless. It's 7 homeboys. And 2 of us left. And and for me to go through what I've gone through, don't tell me, you can't, you listen, what I've gone through and what I've done is not done every day.
Right.
And I tell people that there's no, that everybody doesn't hit the switch.
Right.
Some people stay over there.
Right.
I know more people that stay over there than hit the switch.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
You and me both. You and me both.
I know people that stay over there.
And you can't hit the switch for them.
Yeah, and you can't hit the switch for them. And there's no way out for them. Right. So, don't, you could tell that to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm extreme, but I had to be for myself.
And that's what it takes.
Yeah, and I knew that's what it takes. And so I was, I had a community, which was a small part because I'm in a different community now. Like the people that I see talk, I'm in a different, so, but I had the community, 10-20% of that community that I really had to prove that it was a wrap. And once I got outside of that, once I did it, and I got outside of that, or I didn't care what nobody else thought in that community, and I've made it. But I know too many that don't make it.
Don't stop, bro, because the way you see the world, even to this day, can't nobody see the world through your eyes, right? So certain things is gonna look like red flags to you, they might not look like red flags. We'll all sit at home and criticize LeBron for making a pass instead of shooting, right? Bro, I had to tell people all that, bro, that's LeBron James.
Yes.
If that nigga thought he should pass,
that's right.
he should pass it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
just so at some point you gotta look at. Well, I know you got this, but you got bro, I'm Fred Hayes.
Yeah.
Bro, if I think that means something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And with that, to add on to that is, I'm saying that if you don't think that I'm 100% right, because I think I'm 100% right, I challenge you, do it this way.
Yeah.
Don't just do it this way, and I promise you,
you ain't gotta disagree.
that ain't gonna happen.
Just
So
rock.
you got one way or another, rock this way, and I promise you that ain't gonna happen.
Yep, that's exactly right.
But you're in that pot now.
Yeah.
And if you rock that way, you might get over here. Very few.
Yeah.
But you rock that way, you got a chance. Then
Yeah, them old folks used to always tell us, it's gonna go two ways. We looked at them right in the face like it was crazy. You know what I mean? So well, look, I just want to be cognizant of the time and get us to this landing point. Man, I appreciate this, dog.
Yes.
I'm gonna circle back because I got some things that you kind of said today that I want to follow up with you on. Some other things that we're doing that I feel like could tie in. Man,
severely blessed to have you here, Fred. For real, man.
Yeah, man.
Bro, so I don't know no other way to jump off on this one just to say, man, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And
my pleasure.
that's a wrap, bro.
Yeah.